Every airplane that crosses the sky today began as an impossible dream. For centuries, humans watched birds glide overhead and asked one question: could we ever do that too? This is the story of how that dream became reality, the story of the invention of the airplane. Long before engines or steel wings, flight lived only in myth. In ancient Greece, the legend of Icarus told of a boy who flew too close to the sun on wings of feathers and wax, only to fall when they melted. A myth capturing both humanity's longing for the sky and fear of reaching too far. In China, kites capable of lifting a person hinted that flight might not be impossible. Centuries later, Leonardo da Vinci filled his notebooks with sketches of flying machines, studying birds and believing mathematics could unlock their secret. None of his designs ever flew, but the seed was planted, one that would take 400 years to bloom. In 1783, two French brothers, Joseph Michel and Jacques-Étienne Montgolfier, discovered that heated air trapped in a fabric bag could lift it skyward. Their hot air balloon rose above Annonay, France, and for the first time, a human-built object carried living creatures into the air. Soon after, a balloon carried two men over the rooftops of Paris, and the age of flight had begun. But floating with the wind wasn't controlled flight. That challenge fell to British engineer Sir George Cayley, the father of aerodynamics, who identified the four forces of flight: lift, weight, thrust, and drag. In 1853, one of his gliders carried his coachman across a valley in England, proving that heavier-than-air flight was possible, even if not yet controllable. By the late 1800s, inventors raced to understand how wings truly worked. German engineer Otto Lilienthal, the glider king, built and flew dozens of gliders through the 1890s, recording exactly how air moved across curved wings and turning flight into real science. In 1896, a crash claimed his life, but his research lived on. American engineer Octave Chanute carried it forward, publishing findings that would directly inspire two bicycle mechanics in Dayton, Ohio. The glider pioneers proved a person could ride and steer the air. What remained was to add power. Wilbur and Orville Wright were not trained scientists, just two bicycle mechanics driven by curiosity. Inspired by Lilienthal and Chanute, they began systematic experiments in 1899, even building their own wind tunnel to test over 200 wing shapes. At Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, they refined wing warping, a system letting a pilot bank and steer like a bird tilting its wings, the missing piece every earlier inventor had overlooked. By 1903, they had built a lightweight engine and twin propellers, fitting them to a biplane called the Wright Flyer. Everything they'd learned was about to be tested. December 17, 1903. Cold winds swept the dunes of Kitty Hawk. Orville lay on the Flyer's lower wing as Wilbur steadied the wingtip. At 10:35 a.m., the engine roared, the propellers spun, and the aircraft lifted off, staying airborne 12 seconds and traveling 120 feet. It was enough. For the first time, a powered aircraft had carried a person in controlled, sustained flight. The brothers flew 3 more times that day, Wilbur completing the longest flight at 852 feet. Only 5 witnesses saw it happen, yet those 12 seconds quietly rewrote the future of the world. Word of the achievement spread, and within a decade, aviation became a global obsession. By 1908, the Wrights were flying over an hour at a time. In 1909, Louis Blériot flew across the English Channel, proving aircraft could conquer seas as well as fields. Then came World War I, and flimsy biplanes evolved into fast fighter aircraft almost overnight, birthing the age of the fighter pilot. After the war, commercial airlines began carrying passengers across continents, and in 1927, Charles Lindbergh's solo Atlantic crossing captivated the world. By mid-century, the jet engine pushed aircraft to speeds the Wrights could never have imagined, shrinking the entire planet. Today, over 100,000 flights cross the globe daily, carrying more than 4 billion passengers a year to every corner of the planet, a feat that would have seemed like pure fantasy to the handful of people standing on that beach in 1903. A journey that once took explorers months by sea now takes hours in the air. Families separated by oceans can reunite in a single afternoon. Goods, medicine, and aid can reach disaster zones within hours of a crisis instead of weeks. None of this exists by accident. Every modern aircraft, from a small propeller plane to a massive intercontinental jetliner, still relies on the exact same principles Sir George Cayley identified 2 centuries ago, and the same fundamental leap of controlled, powered flight that the Wright brothers proved possible in just 12 seconds. Airports have become the crossroads of the modern world. Cities where millions of strangers from different cultures, languages, and continents pass through every single day, connected by nothing more than wings and an engine. The invention of the airplane did far more than simply help humans travel faster. It connected nations that had once been separated by oceans, accelerated the exchange of trade, ideas, and culture, transformed how wars were fought and how peace was kept, saved countless lives through emergency medical transport and rapid disaster response, and united humanity in a way no invention before it ever had. It began with an ancient myth of melting wings, passed through balloonists and glider pioneers who risked and often lost their lives chasing an idea the world called impossible, and it finally came to life through 2 humble bicycle makers from Ohio who simply refused to give up. The sky, once an untouchable frontier reserved for gods and birds, became humanity's highway, and it all started with a simple dream of flying like the birds. The story of flight is really the story of human determination, proof that curiosity and persistence can turn the impossible into reality. Next time you see a plane cross the sky, remember, it carries centuries of dreams and the will of people who refuse to stay on the ground. If you enjoyed this story, hit like and subscribe to Deep Blue Avionics for more videos like this. Drop a comment telling us what amazed you most. See you in the next one.